Well, I got to say this about the NSA. They may be very high tech. They might have very, qualified employees that know everything there is about surveillance, espionage, computer technology, how to hack. But when it boils down to it, they lack shrewdness. That's like they're stupid in a lot of other ways. It's like the side of them that is very technological is totally lacking on the other side. I saw this interview by, it was the National Security Agency Director General, whatever the hell he is. I don't know how he's a general because I don't know how that works. You go up through the ranks, but that's what it is. I kind of don't like that, to tell you. Well, I don't like that. It's, I got mixed feelings about the NSA. It's some side of me says you need it, and another side of me says you got to watch it too. You got to be careful with it. But it was Keith Alexander, and the whole way they did this interview, and I saw part of it on YouTube. It was like one of the worst, most hated videos going. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like thinking, look at how the presentation was even made. The guy is in this real drab place. He's got his uniform on with all his, ribbons and stuff, and, the bars up here and stuff. And it's real, like, austere, serious and drab. First off, I know what I would do. I'd go to the other extreme, but I'll tell you what I'll do. But what he should have done was he should have actually did the interview in his own home, in a bright, sunny location, with bright clothes, no uniform, talk real informal, introduce his family, and say, yeah, I know, it's not, like be part of like society, not that he's somebody up there. That was one thing. His interview went over about as good as J.P. Morgan's Twitter campaign they had last month, where everybody just, asked J.P. Morgan something. Basically, it was like, kick me, These guys, actually, though, it's revealing something, because these people, they actually do have an ego. And they think they're on some mandated mission by God or something. In the case of J.P. Morgan, we're on a mandated mission by God to collect as much wealth and money for ourselves because we're great, and I guess the NSA's got their other thing. Actually, I'm going to state what I would have freaking done. Now, this would have been over the top, and I would have got in trouble if the government would have let me do it, but I would have hired strippers and pole dancers and had a big party explaining what the NSA is about, and I would have got ex-President Bill Clinton. The guy, I didn't even vote for the guy twice, but he's a real good old boy party animal. I would have had him over there with some dark shades, playing a saxophone, while the pole dancers were dancing around the pole. And I explained to you what the NSA was about. That's the way I would have done it. But I know I wouldn't have been allowed to do that. But, he could have at least had an interview in his home, showed some of his family, some of his personal hobbies, or whatever the hell it is. So you think the guy at least is human, but he came across like, austere, I don't know, El General dictator or something, It's almost like it was so un-American, in the way it was presented. Even though the guy actually may, inside, be 100% dedicated to what he's doing. It probably is. But the way it all presented itself, what tells me is like, these people are really, really, really smart with technology, but they're really stupid on another side of thing. They might have all this information, but it's not going to do them any good. That's what's scary about the NSA. Because, if it is actually designed to protect America and say it was, that's all it was doing, they might fall flat on their face because they're missing something. They actually don't have a balance of the right type of people in there because they're too technologically orientated. They're looking so much at the tree bark, they're missing some things that are just basic human nature. That's really what's wrong with them. And actually I'm going to say something here I think it might be unpopular because, I got suspicions about Eric, this Snowden guy, the one that defected. I don't want to say defected, but he ran away to Russia. That'd be the last place in the world I'd go to, man. I don't know. I think I would have went to an Indian reservation or something, you know. That's where I would have disappeared. I probably would have still been in the United States, outside the United States, but in an Indian reservation, you know, where they believe in freedoms. And you're still in America, but I just wouldn't have went to Russia because it's like, that place is worse than over here by far. I don't know. Something doesn't add up with this Snowden guy. It's good he leaks stuff, but in a way, I ain't sure. So, just want to bring out this point because even though NSA is so freaking smart with technology, it's like they're stupid in other ways. That whole interview, they should have figured out ahead of time. How do you think that was going to go over? Duh. Holy shit. It's like J.P. Morgan with the Twitter campaign. Holy smokes, man. Which is scary because they're supposed to be protecting the United States. In other words, they can have all this technological advantage and somebody can easily out-shrew them because of the human element, which they seem to be totally lacking in. You know? It's like I'm not exactly against them, but they need to be watched because it's danger. It's danger. It's danger to the freedoms of the United States, the American way of life, and our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. It is a danger. I know it is. And it's almost like you kind of need the agency, but it's got to have oversight for sure. It's got to have oversight. But you know, it's almost like it's scary that they're so technologically advanced on some ways, but they totally blew it as to how did he think the audience was going to accept something like that. You know, the guy might have been, you know, if I read him right, this Keith Alexander, he totally believes in what he's doing. He's very dedicated to his job, and he's probably being, I don't know, maybe he's trying to make it sound like it's not so bad on the American people and nobody's buying it, but the whole presentation, the whole environment, the way they showed it, with his uniform on, and you know, all drab, and you know, all these serious people around, and they can't show their other people's faces and stuff, like it's all secret. You know, that whole environment sucked. I mean, they should have had it. You know, I know he couldn't have done the pole dancers and Bill Clinton on the saxophone, but that would have been my style. But he should have actually had it in his home. And, you know, showed like, yeah, this is where I live, you know, informal. These are some of the things I like, you know, this is what I do in my spare time. You know, you make the guy, you could have made himself sound more human than coming across as a general. You know, it's almost like, you know, that's one reason I kind of like the Marine Corps too, because, you know, well, for not everybody, but, you know, nothing's perfect. But actually, when you actually get into an organization like the military, like the Marine, well, I don't want to, I guess it was a Marine, right? Big deal, but whatever. But I'm just saying, as an organization like that, even the officers and generals and all the senior command and everything, they're far more down to earth, generally speaking. And that's why people tend to work together better. Which, if he didn't come off like this, you know, I'm explaining what the NSA does as a general, you know, as the supreme commander or something of the NSA, he probably would have had a little more acceptance. Man, but you know, that's telling me the NSA is extremely weak on one side of something. And they're very, very strong on technological, you know, advancements, how to spy. But, you know, they blow the whole deal in other ways, too. And it's shrewdness that counts a lot. And they sure as hell don't seem to have it, man. They sure as hell don't seem to have it. With me, like I said, I would have went the other way. I would have said, pole dancers are going to be explaining how the NSA works. We're going to have a choreography, song and dance thing. And Bill Clinton, ex-president, with the dark shades, is going to be playing the tunes on the saxophone. And it would be all outside in by a nice swimming pool and, you know, everything, you know, a lot of fun. So, you know, whatever. But not this guy, man. He's got it the most drab freaking thing going. So, that tells me these guys are stupid in some of the most important ways they should be smart in, which is the human element and shrewdness. They lack it completely. Completely. Amazing. Amazing. And, that's JP Morgan too, isn't it? Stupid. Anyway, over and out. That's all I got to say, man. But, it doesn't give me a warm, cozy feeling that the NSA is protecting the United States because, despite all their technological advances and stuff and all the information they have, they are very, very lacking in other areas. And that's just really the problem with a lot of people that are too technologically orientated, because they just can't see, the other side of things and what sometimes is more important than just, the facts and details and all this other nitpicking bullshit that's out there. They just can't see the overall picture and use a lot of common sense. And that's what seems like the NSA's got this problem, So, I don't know, man. They ought to get rid of that organization because, the way they blew that freaking interview, that tells me they're not effective in the way we need them to be effective. We need a shrewd organization, that's fighting for America, all the way. I mean, you need these kind of spy agencies up to a point. There's no doubt about it. I'm not denying it, I think, you need a CIA up to a point. And actually, to tell you the truth, I know there's like a lot of popularity in the stories about rogue elements of the CIA doing this and that. But by and large, the organization isn't like that. It's the rogue elements. But, that's why you need oversight, right? Because you always got this problem. You give something too much power, somebody's going to take advantage of it, right? That's why we have a limited form of government and division of separation of powers in the Bill of Rights, which the NSA has a good measure of violating every day, but I don't know, man. They sure as hell lacked a lot of shrewdness, man. I couldn't, that interview was freaking mind-boggling that this guy would do that. But it was mind-boggling what JP Morgan did. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That goes to show you the smartest and the most technologically advanced, in other ways, are the dumbest going. It's the way it is.